Oyo Kingmakers reject Owoade's appointment as new Alaafin. INEC rejects 40 billion naira allocation in 2025 budget, proposes 126 billion naira. Border closure not effective, NASS tells Presidency. Summary of the news. Kingmakers in Oyo have rejected the appointment of Prince Abimbola Owoade as the new Alaafin by Governor Seyi Makinde. The Kingmakers described the appointment as illegal and invalid. Earlier on Friday, the state government announced that Makinde approved the appointment of Owoade as the new Alaafin of Oyo 2 years after the position became vacant. Reacting to the news in a letter to the governor signed by their lawyer Adekunle Sobolaju on Friday, 5 Kingmakers from Oyo declared the appointment invalid, noting that they did not recommend Prince Abimbola Owoade to the state government. They insist that their chosen candidate for the Alaafin was Prince Lukman Adelodun Badegasin. The letter reads, "You will recall that on 30th September 2022, at the meeting of the Kingmakers in accordance with the Alaafin of Oyo Chieftaincy Declaration 1961, the Kingmakers appointed Prince Lukman Adelodun Badegasin as the Alaafin of Oyo by majority of the lawful votes of the Kingmakers. Any meeting of few lawmakers and emergency warrant chiefs held at the governor's office on the 9th of January 2025 or elsewhere at the instance of the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs to select the preferred candidates of the governor as the new Alaafin is not only contrary to the native law and custom and Chieftaincy Declaration of Alaafin of Oyo Chieftaincy, but unlawful, illegal, invalid, null and void. It is not the duty of the governor to convene the meeting of few Kingmakers and emergency warrant chiefs to select or appoint a new Alaafin on the 9th of January 2025 and hurriedly approve the appointment on the 10th of January 2025. Source: Punch newspaper. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has rejected the 40 billion naira earmarked for it in the 2025 budget. Chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, rejected the estimate during budget defense before a joint committee session on INEC and electoral matters at the National Assembly on Friday. The INEC chairman, in his presentation before the joint committee chaired by Senator Salafuddin Ali, APC Oyo South, said elections in Nigeria have become huge burden requiring adequate funding. He said, "Our proposal on the 2025 budget, the provision requires the sum of over 126 billion naira. We have the document that has provided details line by line on how we intended to spend the 126 billion naira. Aside the off-cycle elections for 21 constituencies to be filled through by elections and the Anambra governorship elections this year, personnel costs alone on account of the new minimum wage will eat up the 40 billion naira budgetary envelope." He added that the inadequacy of budget made this electoral body to get intervention funds by 10.5 billion naira for Edo and Ondo election in 2024 and another 500 million naira for by-elections on affected constituencies in 2024. In their response, members of the joint committee, one after the other, assured the electoral body that the proposed sum will be appropriated in the budget for the 2025 fiscal year. Source: Daily Trust. Federal lawmakers in both chambers of the National Assembly have expressed strong reservations about the effectiveness of border closure by the federal government. Senator Francis Adeni Bafadaosi said border closure is hampering the economic fortunes of the country because rather than curb smuggling, it encourages it. For example, on rice production alone, the largest percentage of 4 million tons shortfall is being smuggled into the country since local producers are only producing 3 million tons out of the expected consumption rate of 7 million tons. In her submission, House of Representatives member representing Dangero Potiskum Federal Constituency of Yobe State, Honorable Fatima Talba, declared that the borders in her constituents were technically open, not closed. Going by free movement of people and even criminals across the borders, it is time for us to stop fooling ourselves with border closure. The committee later urged the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, who came for the budget defense session, to liaise with the presidency on the way out of the border closure. Source: Nigerian Tribune. Follow for more. January 11th, 2025.